What's up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm here with a new collection from Colourpop. This is the, what is this? It's gotta be the third collab with Kathleenlight. This is their ZODIAC collection of loose pigments, and today what I want to do is two looks. Why do I always do two on each side like I'm Richard Nixon? Two looks with the pigments, and then I'll also do a little swatch session on my arm so that you can see which each pigment looks like, because there are 12 of them, so it's a little bit difficult for me to fit all 12 into some looks. I did purchase this set, by the way. Colourpop did not send it to me. I just happened to buy the entire set because I wanted to play with them all. Normally when I do any sort of like a first impression or a review and I do a bunch of looks, I reserve my thoughts on the product until the end of the video. Today I wanted to touch on what I think of these a little bit before we get started, because you need to know a little weirdness about them before we get into the swatch portion, because it's gonna explain why some of the swatches are a little meh. And you'll understand what I mean when you see the swatches, so it'll all come full circle if I mention a couple little things first. So Kathleen put out a video explaining how to use them and like kind of showing off the collection, and I watched it, and she definitely touched on the best ways to use it, and the two main ones were over a glitter glue and on a wet brush. I wanted to experiment with them a little bit more and see other ways that we could possibly use them in this video too, so I did that. But all of the swatches that I did are a swatch over glitter glue. So the first swatch you see will be over a glitter glue, and the second swatch will be on a wet brush with no glitter glue under it. The first bunch of swatches look terrible, especially the ones on a dry brush over glitter glue. They came out so bad, and you could still see the color, and the color looks pretty, but they just don't swatch well. And as I went on, I started to get the hang of how the product worked better and started to do it better. So the second half of the swatches look way better, but all of them could have looked that way if I had just known in advance that I needed to pick up a ton, or what looked like a ton, and I'll get to that in a second, of the product on the brush and then swatch it. Because, okay, these are the weirdest texture, you guys. They are so weird. You know that weird kinetic sand that they use in ASMR videos, and they sell it at like Brookstone at the mall, and it like squishes and pulls, and it's like inexplicably both chunky and squishy at the same time? That's what these remind me of. So they look pretty much normal, nothing really out of the ordinary. It looks like just your standard pigment, maybe a little on the chunkier side, a more chunky pigment, but the texture of it is so strange. I'm gonna use the end of a brush because my nails are really long right now. When you push into it, it's just kind of all, I don't know how to explain this, like collapses in on itself and like can compact down. When you push into it, it's like bouncy and like kind of pushes into itself. Like look how much further into the jar that is now. Like it almost squishes together like I said, like the weird ASMR sand. I just dropped so much of this all over my counter trying to show this to you guys. Wow, what a mess. Oh God, that's gonna be a lot of cleanup. When I first opened them and I saw that texture, I was like, what the fuck is this? Like what, why? And then when I started swatching them, I was like, oh God, we are in for a problem in this video, because they were swatching so bad. Not that swatches really mean anything as far as application, but it seemed like I couldn't get enough on the brush because they're like so fluffy and like squishable. Like you could squish them down into like a denser substance. It seems like if you pick up a lot and then put it on, you get a better result. So that's how the swatches went. And then when I used them on my eyes, as long as I had like a decent amount on the brush, they applied absolutely beautifully. After I watched back the swatches, part of me was like, I should just refilm these. And then I was like, no, this is perfect because it totally illustrates the difference that you get between when you pick up like a good chunk of it on the brush and when you use just a sparing amount and just try to apply it like that. It just doesn't really seem to work that way. Does that mean you'll run through these more quickly than a regular pigment? I have no idea. All I know is that seems to be the way they work better for me. I used them on a wet brush. I didn't need quite as much of it, and I found that it was better to make them on the more wet side. Like I wet them more than I would a normal pigment or a normal eyeshadow, and that worked better. I used it in a bunch of different ways. I used it as a highlight, I used it on my lips, and I say it meaning like the pigments in general. I used like obviously different ones for each of these things, but I used it as a liquid eyeliner in this video, and generally speaking, they all worked out pretty well. I don't want to give you a complete spoiler alert for the end of the video. I'll touch more on this at the end after you see the swatches and you see the two looks. In general, these are freaking weird texture. They're weird, but I still really kind of like them. Like I kind of am really excited about them still. So yeah, that's what I wanted to get out of the way before we started swatching, because the first few swatches really truly look a little bit more. So I'm gonna do the swatches first and then we will do both looks. So if you want, I will timestamp everything below. That way you could jump around. That way if you only wanna see the swatches or you don't give a shit about the swatches, you just wanna go to the first look, you can do all that, whatever you like. Before we get started, please don't forget to leave a like on this video if you don't mind taking a second to do that, because it helps me out and I always appreciate it. And if you're new here, maybe you've been browsing through a couple of my videos and you have found yourself landing here watching yet another one, do not forget to subscribe because I would love to have you around for more videos. That's all I think we need to get out of the way before we get started. If there was anything I forgot, I will try to touch on it at the end. So let's just jump right into it and start swatching these beautiful but incredibly strangely textured pigments. So for the first look with this palette, I'm going to try the pigment over glitter glue, and I'm also going to try it as an eyeliner using a mixing medium, and the mixing medium that I'm going to use is Inglot Duraline. This is my favorite mixing medium. You can use this for a lot of different things, but specifically I like using this to create liquid eyeliner with pigments. And for the base of the look, because obviously all of the pigments are a shimmer, you will either need to only do a wash of color or use mattes that you have or mattes from another palette to complete the look. So for the first one at least, I'm not sure what I'm going to do with the second one yet, but the first one I'm going to be going into the James Charles Morphe palette. I feel like this has a good variety of neutrals that I might need to get this look done. I'm going to go into this beige shade here and start to define my crease with it a little bit. This is just slightly darker than my skin tone. It will help just give us a little bit of something to blend out into and start to give us a little bit of shape. I'm packing that down with a MAC 217 brush, and then I am going to blend it out with a clean blending brush. I'm not bringing that all the way onto the inside of the lid. I just realized that I forgot to turn all my background lights on. Stand by. Oh my God. Now I need to deepen up that outer portion just a little bit more. So I'm gonna go into this dark brown over here on a MAC 221, and I'm just going to deepen the outer portion of the crease with that. And I'm mixing a little bit of this warm brown into that as well, just because I feel like that shade is a little bit too cool toned for the look that we are going for right now. Okay, now that that basic framework is down, I want to start building a look with the pigments, which is the exciting part, obviously. First, I'm going to try it over the glitter glue, and I want to place the glitter glue down in my inner corner, and I'm going to do that with a pencil brush. But once I do that with the pencil brush, I'm going to then abandon this pencil brush until I can wash it, because the glue is going to gunk it all up. So just keep in mind, whatever brush you use to apply your glitter glue, it's going to be defunct for the rest of your look pretty much. I'm using the NYX glitter primer for this. Ooh, too much, too much. Now that that glue is down, I want to put a pop of color on the inner corner. This has become such a popular thing to do these days, and I have to tell you, I am not mad about it because I love doing this. I think it's such like a simple, easy way to get an impactful look, and sometimes trends are for the best. So I'm taking a Luxe 141 mini brush, and I'm gonna go into the shade The Ram, which is this coral with a little bit of gold glitter to it. I'm gonna start by packing that down over the inner corner where we put down the glue, and then we'll blend it out from there. I might have to switch to a clean brush, we'll see. When I turn to the side, you guys can see a little bit better. First of all, that my blend needs to get fixed out here, but we'll deal with that in a minute. But also that the shift in this is so pretty and glittery. That color, the Ram, is stunning. This is so beautiful. I feel like the camera isn't even doing it justice. In person, this is so pretty. If this color was your mom, I'd be your new stepdad. Now to keep going along with this color scheme, I'm going to go into the shade The Scorpion. This is the deep burgundy shade. This time I'm going to use the Inglot Duraline to make it into a liquid eyeliner, and I am going to apply a wing in this color. So I'm just taking the top of like my little Cinema Secrets container here and just dripping a little bit of the Duraline onto it, and then I'm going to mix in a little of this until I get the consistency I want. I'm going to start with this nail art brush and see how that works as far as applying it goes. You can use whatever skinny eyeliner brush you'd like. This is the consistency I got mixing it with the Duraline, and I think that's a good consistency to go for, but we will see. So far, I definitely like that as an eyeliner. It mixes really well with the mixing medium. I definitely need to touch up my lines a little bit, but I'm going to wait for this first layer to dry and then go back in and touch it up, because generally it just works better that way because you're not like smudging half dry eyeliner. Another little note, if you are going to mix it into a liner using Inglot Duraline, this does take a lot longer to dry than a normal liquid liner. So you have to kind of do one of these for a second to let it dry so it doesn't touch onto the top of your lid and crease, because I opened my eyes when this one was still wet and I got a little bit of it in my crease. So I'm going to touch that up. I am going to add the same color from the top to the bottom lash line, add some lashes, and then we'll add a lip to this look. Okay, I popped on the House of Lashes Stella Luxe. Those are still drying. While I wait for those to dry so I can squish them together better, I want to try this shade, The Maiden. It looks like this, and I want to try it as a highlight, and I think this might be a grave mistake because it is very, very pigmented, but I'm going to try it anyway because why not? So I'm picking that up on a MAC 219S. I think this is the little number rubbed off, but I'm pretty sure that's what it is. I sprayed my face with setting spray to give it a little bit of wetness before I try this. Oh, you know what? That actually worked pretty nice. What this actually reminds me of as a highlight is the Fenty Diamond Bomb, except this has a little bit of gold pigment mixed in with the whiteness. And as you know, I love Diamond Bomb highlight. And so I like that. that as a highlight again. That's really nice. For the lip, I am going to go with the nude. I'm going to use Fenty Stunna Lip Paint in the color Unbutton. And I'm gonna put a little bit of the Maiden on top of that as a highlight as well, just to see how it works on the lips. I actually love how that looks applied over a nude lipstick. It's so pretty. This is the first look. Okay, for look number 2, just for variety's sake, I'm gonna switch it up. I'm gonna build the base of the look with the mattes from the Urban Decay Born to Run palette. You could totally do this with the James Charles palette too if you have that and not this, but I just figured I would switch it up a little bit for the sake of variety. As a transition, I'm gonna go into the shade Still Shot. Just gonna pop that through the upper portion of the crease. I'm gonna be blending that up toward the brow a little bit. And I'm gonna blend the edge of it with a clean brush. To start darkening that up a little bit more, I'm gonna go into the shade Riff on a MAC 221S brush. This is a little bit stained from the last look, but that's okay. I'm gonna put that into the more direct crease section. And I'm also gonna bring that down onto the outer portion of the lid. And you know what? I'm gonna bring it on the inner portion of the lid too. Next, I'm gonna take a Sigma E36 brush and I'm going into the shade Punk, and I'm gonna use that to darken the outer portion and the inner portion. And I'm gonna carry that through the crease a little bit as well, but I'm not trying to make it too dark, so I'm not gonna add any more color to it while I go through that area. I'm just gonna kind of blend what's left over. This is all just sort of creating like a gradiated contour where the center of the lid is left open for us to put a shade down that we are going to be experimenting with. So now that that part's down, I'm probably gonna add a little bit more to it from that palette after we put down the pigment, but I wanna see how the pigment looks first. So I'm gonna put down some glitter glue since that seems to be the way that it works the best. Putting some of the NYX glitter glue on the back of my hand on a flat brush. This is a MAC flat brush, I forget what number, and it's rubbed off. Just tapping that over the center area where I haven't put any color down yet. I am going to go into this shade, which is called the Crab, which is like a blue and purpley duochrome-y kind of a thing. And I'm picking up a good chunk of that on this flat brush because, like I mentioned in the beginning, this was the best way to actually get it to look nice, was to pick up like what looked like too much, but then it worked out just fine. I'm gonna blend the edge of that into the crease a little with the same brush we used earlier. I'm gonna take a little bit of what's left on my brush with that and just kind of bring it over the darker shades, see what the effect of that is. You can definitely apply these to areas where you don't have glitter glue down, but it becomes very dispersed. Like, it's not highly pigmented anymore, which is funny because it's a pigment, so you'd think it would be nothing but pigment, but it's not really what we're working with here. So for the bottom half, I want to play around with this in a little bit of a different way. So I'm going to put a color through my waterline, and then I'm going to smudge that color out underneath my waterline, and then put the pigment on top of that and see how that works. So I'm gonna go into the shade Loaded from Urban Decay. This is kind of like a deep green. I do have a little bit of fallout on my cheeks from the pigment in the middle of the lid, but considering how much pigment I picked up on the brush, there wasn't much fallout at all. I'm just gonna smudge the end of that out with a pencil brush. This is not an ideal pencil brush for this. I would like something a little bit fatter, but I don't have one that's clean. I'm gonna go into this shade, The Fish, which I would imagine is meant for Pisces, and the only reason I know that one is because I am a Pisces. I don't know anything about star signs, but I know I am a Pisces, and I know that it's associated with a fish because the little symbol is like a little fish. I'm taking that on a flat brush, and I'm just gonna dab that over the top of that pencil and see how it looks. Woo! I think I like that effect. Hello. I don't often do a shimmer on the lower lash line, but I'm convinced. I'm converted. That's real pretty. Maybe it's because I'm a Pisces and this is my power color. I'm just gonna blend the edge of that very, very lightly with a clean brush. I don't wanna blend it too much though, because the parts where it's not over like a heavy base of liner seem to blend away quite easily. All right, since I'm on a roll, I'm gonna go into this shade again, the Maiden, the one that we used as a highlight and on our lips earlier. By the way, it worked beautifully as a highlight. But if you do use it as a highlight, I would suggest spray your face with setting spray so it's a little bit damp, put it on, and then spray it again to like set it down, because I did notice that it kind of tended to, I didn't get like glitter fallout from it, but it kind of tended to like fade away pretty quick. So it needed something to like stick it down more. Ooh, I'm trapped in my own hair. I picked that shade, the Maiden, up on a Makeup Geek pencil brush, and I'm just gonna wet the bejesus out of it. I noticed that these work best when they're like really wet, not just a little wet. And pop that on the inner corner. Okay, I put on the House of Lashes Iconic Lights. I finished up my skin, I added a couple of little freckles, and now it's time to add a lip to this look. I want to keep it pretty simple so we can keep the focus on how pretty the shades and the eyes are. So I'm going to do one of my go-to lip combinations. I've probably done it in a 3 looks video before, I'm sure. I'm going to use the Kat Von D Lolita 2 pencil over my whole lip, and then top it with the Lime Crime Wet Cherry Gloss in Bitter Cherry. And this is the second look. So that's the swatches and the 2 looks out of the way, and at the end of it all, I have to say that although I was a little skeptical because of the odd kinetic sand texture that these have, and when I say sand, by the way, I don't mean that these are grainy, they're not, they're just very finely milled. It just has that texture of that stuff, you know, the stuff from the sand cutting videos and the sand stretching videos, like that like squishy texture. I don't know, you know, I have a little theory actually that's percolating in my brain. I feel like these are an unpressed version of the Super Shock shadows from Colourpop. They have that bouncy squishiness to them. I bet that's what they are. But regardless, I absolutely love the finish of how these apply on the eyes, so long as you listen to the recommended directions and you use them over a glitter base or use them really wet. Honestly, I also had great luck mixing them with a mixing medium over a eye pencil. Worked fantastic. Like I said earlier, as a highlighter, they worked really nicely, but I recommend that if you do that, you do go in with a second round of setting spray to set them down, because I did find that it faded a lot for me throughout the day. I loved the shade The Maiden as a lip highlight. I thought it was absolutely stunning, and it stayed really, really well over a liquid lipstick as a base, so that worked out very well too. Admittedly, I don't know anything about the zodiac. I don't know anything about zodiac signs. Like I said, all I know is that I'm a Pisces and that's supposed to be a fish. Like that's literally all I know. So I can't really speak to, do these represent the signs well? I have no idea. But do these represent what I want to put on my eyeballs? Well, yeah. So I purchased the set. This has 12 shades in it and they come in at a price of $70 for the whole set. However, it was on sale when I bought it and it is on sale now for $56, which is 20% off. And as singles, they are $6, but they are on sale now for $4.80. And honestly, if there are just a couple that you like, $4.80 for these is a steal, because they really are versatile. There were a few shades in the set that I could probably live without, but I'll still get use out of them. I expect that I'll get a lot of use out of these. Look forward to seeing a lot of them incorporated into looks coming up in the near future, because I have a lot that I didn't even jump into yet and I would like to. But in general, although a little weird, I think that these are lovely for the price. Please don't forget to take a second and leave a like on this video if you don't mind taking a second to do that, because it really helps me out in a big fat way and I always appreciate it. And also, if you are new here, don't forget to subscribe, because I have a million more videos coming down the pipeline and I would not want you to miss out on any of them. I would love to have you around. If you would like to keep up with me between videos, I am at Miss Quinn Face on pretty much every type of social media, but the one that I use the absolute most and where you can catch fun things like lip art and close-ups of my makeup and behind the scenes on my stories and PR unboxings and Q&As and polls to determine what we were doing here on this channel, which obviously you don't want to miss out on if you watch these videos because you get to take part, then Instagram is the way to go. That is all for today. I hope you found this a little bit helpful or you got some ideas with the eye looks. Thank you so much for watching. I always appreciate you, and I will see you in the next one.